What's up, guys? Today we're going to get into Photoshop, the industry standard image editing software, and we're going to go over shortcut keys. We're going to start with the 5 essentials that I use every time that I open the program. And then we're going to go over a list of many more. And we're not even going to cover all of them, but let's just get right into it. Shortcut key essentials. V is your move tool. You press V, select the item, and you can move it around. C is the cropping tool. Press C, press Enter, and your image will be cropped. B for brush. Here we are painting away with our brush. M for marquee. You will select the section. And if you press Shift M, you will navigate through the rectangular marquee or the elliptical marquee. Ctrl D to deselect. Then we have G, our gradient tool. G, drag and select, and you create a gradient with the colors that you have selected. And there is a little more to it, but that is how you use the gradient tool. All right, those are our shortcut key essentials. Now next, we are going to get into our basic shortcuts. So creating a new document, Ctrl+N. This is creating a new document, a new project file. So I have some custom settings in here that I use on a regular basis. Typically, you will go in here and you're going to select your width and height in pixels, and then your resolution. Your resolution for working on things digitally that are going to be displayed on a screen is going to be 72. You can also come up here with your width and height and change it to inches, centimeters, and different, options up here. And then again, here's your pixels per inch or pixels per centimeter. And that is about it. Then we have Ctrl+O. Ctrl+O is to open documents that have been created previously. So let's click this one and we've opened a new document. Ctrl+W is to close a current project. Ctrl+W. And here we are back to our original. Now, the next is with saving. Now you can press Ctrl+S and it'll save the project. You can press Ctrl+Shift+S and it'll give you more options. This is to save what kind of file type. So it would be a Photoshop file so that I can save the project and open it again. Or you have these other options or even a PDF format. Next up, we have exporting our files. Exporting the file is going to be with Shift, Alt, and W. Now here we are. This would be us exporting this business card as a PNG, a JPEG, or a GIF. And another cool shortcut key is Ctrl+ to zoom in. Boom, we're in. Or Ctrl- to zoom out. And we're out. All right. So now that we've covered some basic shortcuts, we are going to get into selection tools. Now, with the selection tools, there are a handful of different tools. We're going to start with Marquee. Now, when you press Marquee, it gives you these, what's called, people refer to them as dancing ants. The dancing dotted lines. Now I've made a marqueed section, a rectangular section. Now, if I were to pick my brush tool and I'd paint or use a brush, I will only go into the selected marquee area. Now to deselect that, you're going to press Ctrl+D. And while pressing Shift and M for the marquee tool, you will navigate through your rectangular marquee tool or your elliptical marquee tool. We also have L. L is your lasso tool. We have a handful of lasso tools as well. If you press Shift L, you will navigate through the different ones. Here is the regular lasso. Here is the polygonal lasso, and here is the magnetic lasso. So I'm going to go ahead and select, let's just do, the polygonal. Polygonal, you will go and select different points. And so let's say I wanted to select around here. I would click, click, click. And now if you double click, it's going to seal those two, your starting point and your end point. Double click, boom. Now we've selected that area. That's your polygonal lasso tool. Now, if we go to the magnetic, Ctrl+D for deselect. Now, if you go to your magnetic lasso tool, let's Shift+L. Let's get to the magnetic one. You see the little magnet? And let's try and select her hair here. So you click, and you kind of just draw along the area, and it will magnetically snap to points that it thinks are the correct points. It's pretty useful. And here, and double click at the end, and we have closed the marquee section, and we have a selected section. Ctrl+D to deselect. We also have the wand. That's another selection tool, our wand tool. If I select here, it's going to try to select similar color ranges. Now let's try and just select her face. Let's get this out of our way. Let's pin position bar. So Ctrl+D again to deselect. Let's just try and get her face. I'm going to select her eye portion. Let's go over here. Let's try and get there. Let's get more along that hairline, her mouth, and her cheeks. And it did a pretty dang good job at selecting her face. We also have another option, which is a quick selection tool, also located in W, but you have to press Shift+W to get to your quick selection tool. So we have a magic wand as well. Next up, we are going to move on to our manipulation tools. So this goes back to some of our core essentials. V for your move tool. You click V and you'd select an area and move it around. If I select here in between these letters, it's not selecting anything. So you need to make sure you're clicking on the object that you would like to move. Up next, we have our crop tool. Crop is done by what? C. Press C, enter, and we've officially cropped our image. Next up, we have our eyedropper tool. This is a cool one too, because so eyedropper is eye, and eyedropper will select the color range for that to be used as your next color. So if I select here, our color swatches over here are going to change to the eyedropped selected color. Pretty cool one. Next up, we have B, our brush tool. Again, we know what the brush is, and that's how you would use the brush tool. Ctrl+Z. Ctrl+Z is to undo. We'll go over that in a second. And then again, another manipulation tool would be our gradient tool. Now, if you have an image like this, I'm going to use my V tool to scoot her over. And let's say I don't like the sharp edge and I want her to sit here. Well, the gradient tool comes in handy in this situation. So you select the layer that you'd like to be on. Then you would put a layer mask, press G for your gradient tool, and click and drag. And then we have a nice gradient, and no longer do we have a sharp edge. And up next, we have a whole new set of tools. So now we're going to talk about our layers and panel section. So to create a new layer over here in your layer section, you'd press Ctrl+Shift+N. Press OK. We now have ourselves a new layer. Now, one thing to consider is wherever you're selected, it's going to place that layer right above it. So if I want it to be above the URL that we have down here, then I'm going to press Ctrl+Shift+N, and now the layer is going to be on top. But if I'm selected on this image that we were working on a second ago and put a new layer, it's going to go above that layer. Something to consider. And duplicating a layer is very simple too. So if you see here, this is the layer that we're on. Okay. So in this case, if you press Ctrl+J, it will duplicate the layer. And now you see here that we have two copies laying right on top of each other. And when you would like to merge layers, so we have all of these layers. Here's one. This is the name, phone number, and email. Here is the little tagline down here. We have our URL, and we also have, a call to action and business type up here. Now, if I'd like to select all of these, I'm going to press whatever layer at the top, scroll to the bottommost layer, press Shift and left click. And that's going to select all of those layers together. Now, if you'd like to merge these so that they would become one layer, you're going to then press Ctrl+E. Now look, we no longer have all of those layers. These are a singular layer. Now look, if I move it around, look, it's all one. So that is how you create or how you merge layers. And next up, you can select one of these layers. Let's go to business and media, the business and media consulting layer. So I press V, my move tool. I'm going to touch the layer. And then if I press 1 through 9 or 0, it's going to change the opacity of the layer. Now, if I go here, I can just click on the word opacity and drag left, or click and drag right, and it's going to make it brighter or less bright. Now, I can also use 1 through 9 or 0 to create that opacity as a shortcut key. So if I press 1, it takes us down to 10%. If I press 5, it takes us to opacity 50. If I press 0, it takes us to opacity 100. One last shortcut key in the layers and panel section is F7. F7 shows your layer panel. Okay, next up, we have text and typography. If you press T for your text tool, you can click, and then now you have an area in which you can type text. Type. Boom, done. Now, if you press the Enter key next to the letter section of your keyboard, you will make a new paragraph. If you press the Enter key next to your numerical keypad, you'll finish that layer by pressing that Enter. So the Enter next to your letters is to create a new paragraph. The Enter next to the numerical keypad solidifies the layer and completes it. Now, another cool thing is if I, select this layer, and I'd like to change the font type. If I press, so if I'm in the editing, so I double click on it. And now if I press Ctrl+Shift greater than or less than, it will increase or decrease the font size. Pretty cool. Also, if you press Ctrl+Shift+B, it will make it bold. And if you can press Ctrl+Shift+I, it'll italicize it. Super cool shortcut keys. And in the case where you would like all capitals, if you press Ctrl+Shift+K, it will make it all caps. Super, super quick shortcut keys. And don't forget to utilize the text tool, you press T. So next up, we have just a few more miscellaneous tools, and one that I use so often, it is ridiculous. It is the free transform tool. You can use your move tool, press V, and you can select any area and press Ctrl+T, and you can transform it. There's a way you can click on any one of the boxes and drag, and then it will transform it that way. You can go up to the top where it says width and height and click on the W or the H and drag left or right to size as well. And look at that. If I go negative, it will make it reverse. Pretty cool. And one thing you do want to remember when you're doing this is it's good to have this chain link selected, and that equally stretches the width and height. If it is not clicked, I can change just the width or just the height. We are going to end off with our last tool, and I really do like these tools. And these are your rulers. And here are the rulers here. If you press Ctrl+R, It will hide the rulers. If you press Ctrl+R, it brings them back. And this helps you keep things centered. So if you see here, I created grid lines. And if I zoom in, this is like dang near the perfect middle point of this canvas size. So the rulers are very important sometimes too. And then Ctrl+Apostrophe will get rid of the grid lines too. You can add or remove grid lines too. So that is also another cool tool. So one last tool, actually, one more. Zoom. Guess what key it is? Z. Z for zoom. And if you click and drag left, it will zoom out. And if you click and drag right, it will zoom in. Another cool shortcut key. So let's recap, essentially the primary shortcut keys that I use on a regular basis are V, your move tool, C, my cropping tool, B, your brush tool, M, your marquee, and G, your gradient tool. Essentially, if you start using these shortcut keys, it will reduce your workflow and the amount of time that you spend working in Photoshop by grave amounts. So learn the essentials. Remember the essentials? We had V for move, C for crop, B for brush, M for marquee, G for gradient. And you know what? I think I should have added a sixth shortcut essential, and that would be Z for zoom. You guys learn these shortcut keys, and it's going to make your design process so much easier. Please, in the comments, place your favorite shortcut keys. Please be sure to like, share, save the video. And if you like these videos, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you.